All right. Hello, good evening to our listeners. You are welcome to your show, Real Talk with Kike, the radio talk show that comes to you live to discuss important issues, news, recent development from the local scenes and the global environment, basically. So pleasantly, I remain your host, Kike Lomatondao. Only if you people know all the things that goes on behind closed doors before we come live. We try to manage all sorts of issues, and that's actually part of life, anyways. So if you're just tuning in for the first time, please welcome. Please catch up with us by subscribing to our YouTube page, Real Talk with Kike, and follow our Instagram page, Real Talk with Kike. Our Goldberg opening message for the show is Ogbon Imo Ati Oye. In English translation, it means wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. These three words are all marks of an Omoluabi who remains engaged with learning and life. Anyways, this week's edition of Real Talk with Kike is routing towards the sector of education. The sector has been on standstill since the start of the pandemic in Nigeria. And from the basic to tertiary education, the entire system has not witnessed the regular academic activities that usually ushered students within the four walls of schools and various academic environments. As most speculations have habits from the scientists and the health experts on the pandemic that the coronavirus may linger on for a while, and more than that we had expected, despite strict and continuous measures to curb the spread and reduce the impact of the pandemic. So today, we are not investigating the impact of the virus, let me put that out there, on our educational frontiers, but rather we are looking at the development, the strategies put in place by the authorities and institutional stakeholders on the issue, and I hope that we'll be able to achieve all the necessary learnings in a way that it doesn't affect the lives and health of people in the country. Anyways, with me in the studio is an eminent guest and an educator by profession. She is a master's degree holder with distinctions from University of Nottingham. Our guest has 40 years working experience spanning banking operations, organizational restructuring, human resources management, international trade and education. I can go on and on and on regarding all she's achieved, but she is a merit award winner of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and a university scholar of the University of Ibadan. She is currently the Honorable Commissioner for Education in Lagos State by the name Mrs. Folashade Adefisayo. Again, thank you so much for joining me in the studio today. I understand your busy schedules. I understand that right now, as I speak to you, you have to create time to share part of your evening with me, because I know that you're engaging most of the stakeholders in our schools today. Again, thank you so much for doing this with me.
Thank you very much, madam. I really appreciate your invitation.
You're welcome. So quickly, because of time, and I know that you're doing a lot at the moment, we are pleased to have you on the show again. Aside the brief introduction I just made of you, are there other parts of your profile you would like our audience to know or get to know about you?
Well, I'd like them to know that I've been in education for a while now, and that I actually was the CEO of a group of schools. Okay. For a number of years. I was principal of at least 2 schools or 3, okay. And I ran one of which was a public school in my state, outside Lagos.
Okay.
So I've run both public and private schools. Oh, I love the environment of.
All right. Thank you so much for that, and trying to add your own quota to the nation building of our country. So moving on to COVID-19, we are all aware or quite aware that COVID-19 has altered some sectors which education is included, and also altered the system and operations in these sectors. So my question is, can you describe the scope of impact the pandemic has on the educational system with peculiar reference to our country?
Can you hear me? Can you still hear me?
We're all ears, ma'am.
Okay. The pandemic, its impact is honestly almost incalculable because it has affected everybody. Parents who are the children, we've had to lock down schools just for the safety of the children so that they stay at home. So, and that has had a tremendous impact on parents who, of course, have now had to find ways to engage their children over the period. And schools, too, who have had to find ways to continue to engage learners and to convince parents to continue to pay them for the services they are giving them. You know, because, of course, parents, too, are finding it difficult to find jobs. Some have lost their jobs. Some have lost their lives. And so, on the children, it's not just missing school. There's also the emotional impact, the trauma due to the loss of friends, relatives, people you know, and so on. And, of course, due to the sheer boredom of just sitting at home day in, day out. And, of course, on the economy as a whole, I'm not an economist, I can hardly talk about that, but we can see its impact on people's jobs and livelihoods.
Absolutely.
So really, the pandemic has had an incalculable effect on the country as a whole.
All right.
Let me put it that way.
All right. Thank you.
That's the negative, but there's also a positive.
Okay. Thank you so much. I understand that. So I'm glad you mentioned that, you know, you've worked in different states and you've been in the environment of school, development. And before now, you were appointed as a commissioner in 2019 last year. How can you describe the progress achieved in the system to date since your inauguration?
Well, I will say that we've been able to do some things we never thought we would be able to do. And that's why I was getting down to the positives of the pandemic. Because before the pandemic, I'm talking about technology in public education and so on, was really thought to be perfect, that it cannot happen. How can you talk like that? Where will people find devices? What about data? Where will people buy laptops and so on? And but this pandemic has made us really develop all sorts of strategies to ensure that learners
learn.
Yeah. They will not stop learning. We will not stop those new methods of teaching and assessment of learning after the pandemic is over. Life has changed, and we've been able to react very, very quickly to the change. And that, I think, is the greatest thing that we've done, apart from the fact that, of course, we've done the usual things of upgrading schools, buying furniture, investing in technology in our primary schools, in the Eco-Excel program, and a lot of other things.
All right. Thank you so much. So, in adjustment strategy to the pandemic and giving continuity to learning in the states, your office is in conjunction, I believe, with the state government and has promised to give 10,000 radio sets to pupils for homeschooling. Can you bring us to speed on the implementation of this process?
I'm excited to tell you. I'm actually talking to you from Ikorodu.
Yeah, I'm aware you said.
Yes, we've been going around schools, and we've given a lot of schools in at least three. This is the fourth district. So we have 6 districts in Lagos. So we are giving, it's not just 10,000. And I know maybe you don't want me to say it and you are very modest, but the wonderful group of women in Council, Committee of Wives of Lagos State Officials, gave us 10,000 radios. But we also got a lot of radios from other organizations as well. So we must be closing in on 20-something thousand, and we have been giving these out.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I understand that the population of the public primary school, junior secondary school students and senior secondary school students amount to over 1.2 million. I stand to be corrected, according to the last statistic published by the state. How do you expect to cover these figures?
we're talking about the radios. It's not every child that didn't have access.
Yes.
So we are really focusing on children that didn't have access to the radio. And we know that it's, and we are not giving every class. So really, we are giving GS1 and 2 for now.
Okay.
And GS1 and 2, which will cover at least, for GS1 and 2, I think we have maybe 200,000. So it should cover like 20%. We want to cover like 20% of them. And 20% of that number is doable. Because people keep on, what you women did in council, you don't understand it. People heard, and then they started donating. You set off a firestorm. So we just keep on getting, and we keep on giving children in far away, distant places who have poor access to any other device.
All right. Thank you so much on that. So I understand. Okay, let me rephrase this. So ratio 1 to 47 is the teacher to pupil ratio in our primary schools, and ratio 1 to 3 for secondary school, according to the state government. They report from their own Bureau of Statistics. How do we address the teacher count in our schools, knowing that this statistics speaks volume of the quality of our education, or the quality of our education and the welfare of our teachers?
Thank you. That's a great question. But we do have high ratios, and of course, that's not great for teaching and learning. We are recruiting. We are recruiting right now, and I don't want people to say we've almost concluded recruitment at primary school level, and we have concluded at secondary. But you know that COVID has really hampered us. So by the time the children resume school, they will see new teachers, a number of new teachers in their schools. So we are working on that. We are also converting people who have educational qualifications and are willing to move from the jobs they are doing now into teaching. We've been going through the process of conversion as well.
All right. Thank you for that submission. So part of the research I made, I think yesterday, I saw that the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education, have started distributing the mobile phones and radio device to beneficiaries in Ifako, Ijaye, I hope I'm right, Agege, Alimosho, local government schools.
Yeah, very right.
Yeah. So what roles do parents have to play in the efficient use of this learning device, knowing that students can engage these devices in unproductive and, should I use the word, pornography?
Oh, you are right. And so before we agreed to these devices, first of all, it has no other app apart from the teaching and learning app called Roducate and WhatsApp text only. So that they can there's no speech. So they cannot make calls and they cannot download other apps onto it. The internet access given us is a very small aperture by MTN. It's just enough for them to send the results of their tests to their teachers or to chat with their teachers and fellow students. So those are some of the, I'm not very tech savvy, but those are some of the things that we insisted upon, that no other app on that system. No Google Play Store, no telephone. But and they have the radio. That's because, of course, we are still broadcasting on radio. So should they want, they can go on radio, or they can go via the app onto the online learning portal. Okay. So we've done that, and we've talked to parents as well. That parents be part of this. We keep on sensitizing and having jingles. We have jingles on right now that are telling parents, we are doing this, please let your child. In fact, we got to the extent that in one of our districts, they are going around markets and telling parents.
Interesting.
What we are doing.
All right. Thank you so much on that. So talking about stakeholders' participation, I believe the pandemic hit us at a point in time where financially unprepared. However, private sector financial contribution has been received in mitigating the impact of the pandemic. So my question is, has there been any collaboration or offers from the private sectors to aid these educational sectors in this regard, aside First Bank, who have also helped in contributing part of these devices?
Oh, yes, we have, in fact, just yesterday, I spoke with, because, we did not give devices to SS3.
Yes.
So I spoke with an organization that wants to work with us to help, because if they come in on 3rd of August, like we said, they are going to go through revision to help us in the revision process. And they've got bankers supporting them. I don't think the bankers would want me to mention their names yet, but they have backers. So there are many people who have supported us in many of the things that were. When I said people were donating to us, there were private organizations, there were banks, there were microfinance banks that donated, insurance companies, manufacturing companies that donated the device, the tablets. The phones and tablets were not just the 20,000 by First Bank. First Bank started it up, but it's also like the council donation has led to also giving up. So again, that too continues to grow. So we've had a lot of collaboration, and we are worried about private schools again, and we are also trying to talk to many of them to support, so that we are able to support private schools. The public has been great, actually.
All right. Thank you so much for that submission. Let me use this opportunity to call in all listeners who have been trying to, call us or send us a message. We have a couple of messages here. I think this is the time for me to open our phone lines and let's fill your purse. We have the Honorable Commissioner with us. Before I go on to start picking calls, okay, we just lost that call. We have a message. It says, "Good evening, Real Talk with Kike. Please, I would like to ask the Honorable Commissioner if there's any plan by the state government to inculcate the teaching of knowledge and prevention of coronavirus pandemic into the curriculum, especially at the primary school level, since this has become a new normal in our society today." All right. Hello?
Hello, sorry, the line went off.
All right. So, I said the first message we have here is from Ayobami. It says, "Please, I would like to ask the Honorable Commissioner if there's any plan by the state government to inculcate the teaching of knowledge and prevention of coronavirus pandemic into the curriculum, especially at the primary school level, since this has become a new normal in our society today."
Absolutely. It is part of what we are teaching. It will be part of health talks, part of assembly. The way you teach that kind of thing cannot be theoretical alone. There must also be the experiential one. So little things like washing your hands, teaching how to do all those things, wearing your mask. All our schools now are filled with posters that teach children how to manage during this coronavirus pandemic.
All right. Thank you so much. We have a caller on the line. What's your name and where you calling from, please?
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
I'm calling from Inauguration.
Okay. What's your contribution today?
Thank you. I want to ask a question from the Commissioner.
Okay.
I have a NC accounting education. I have VC accounting education. Ever since I've been applying for Lagos State teaching job, over 5 years now, I've gone through SPEB, I've gone through TESCOM, but I've not been getting any positive response. So I don't know how to go about it. I have applied online. I have gone to Maryland, drop my CV, drop everything I know. But till now, I have not gotten any response. So I don't know the way forward.
All right. Thank you for that. Ma'am, what's your response to that?
Well, I'm sorry she's had that kind of experience. The numbers are staggering. The last employment exercise that we did, where we just wanted 3,000 people, we had 90-something thousand applicants. So even sifting through is not easy for us at all.
All right. Thank you so much on that. So for some time
we
now,
have subject areas that were more critical for us than others, like the sciences and so on. We don't have enough teachers in maths and English and the sciences.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So for some time now, we have had the debate on schools resuming and not, and it seems there's an indecisiveness on when to resume. So as an authority, do you think we have the right strategies yet for pupils to resume in Nigeria, as other developed countries have outlined smaller head counts in classrooms and more physical distancing for pupils? Also, right there in Nigeria, I know there are some states that have also put out a date. We have or your state yesterday who said, I've given us a date in August that students will return to school. What's your opinion on this?
I think it's SS3 basically. Okay. Yeah, and they're the only state that has done that in the whole country. Because we all have to be, it is not an epicenter like Lagos. Lagos is an epicenter. We cannot afford a situation where we do that and we start having a lot of problems. And so what we've agreed is with the federal government's policy. The federal government has said schools should resume and WAEC will start soon. They still haven't given us a definitive date for WAEC, but we want schools to start on August 3rd for SS3 only. For SS3 to be able to revise and get ready for their WAEC exam. The other children will come in later. But for now, we want SS3 to come back. And it stands to reason that when they come back, they'll be the only ones in school. In fact, that's one of the things I'm doing in Ikorodu now.
Okay.
Like, how many students do you have in SS3? The ratio should not exceed 30 to 1 in the class. Okay. How are you ensuring that? So they will spread across the whole school. So every room will be used as a classroom, even labs and so on.
Oh, interesting.
That is the decision.
All right, thank you. So talking about WAEC, I know that WAEC Senior School Certificate Examination has been announced to commence from August 4th. I stand to be corrected. And COVID...
No, not anymore.
Not anymore. So COVID-19 curve is still on the rise in the country, which I believe that is one of the reasons why it has been moved. So what do you advise as a way out that has been that will be beneficial for all parties involved? That is, I'm talking about the students, I'm talking about the schools, I'm talking about examination body and the country's safety itself.
Well, like I said, WAEC has WAEC did announce the 4th of August, but the country, the Ministry of Education, federal, was not happy with that decision and said a number of things, and eventually WAEC agreed to change the date. Like I said, they've given us a date, but I'm not certain, and I wouldn't want to give a date because there's still some discussion going on. But one thing is clear, that we want SS3s back.
Okay.
We want the terminal classes back so that they can move to the next class. And we've said the guidelines are out. There is a very comprehensive guideline from to the federal government. We also have ours in Lagos State. The one in Lagos State that we did, we used the federal government paper. We talked to all our school owners associations that we normally deal with, called COPSAIL. There are 18 school associations. And then finally, we talked to... And also we talked to Lagos State Safety Commission and came up with the documentation. It's a summary of the federal government zone and our discussions with our private schools. So every school will have that, and we will go around and be ensuring that these schools are keeping to the guidelines.
All right.
We have our quality assurance that will go around.
All right. Thank you so much for that. I think earlier when you were talking, I picked IT from part of the challenges that we have, that you said Lagos State is facing. So information technology, IT, is the new backbone of education. Hello. Okay, we'll go on a quick break and return after a word from our sponsors. Do not touch that dial. This is Real Talk with Kike. We still have the Honorable Commissioner for Education of Lagos State on the line. It's a pleasure to have you back on the show Real Talk with Kike. Hello? Yes. So anyways, I think one of the questions I wanted to ask you before was regarding IT. I don't think I can actually remember. But going forward, I know that federal government allocated 6.7% of 2020 budget to Education Ministry, which is a sum of 691.7 billion. I hope I'm correct. Considering the national economic circumstances, do you think this is a fair share that would induce better performance of the education sector of the country today?
Don't forget that the federal government, that education is on what you call the concurrent list.
Okay.
That means that every level has its own responsibilities and its own budget. So our budget in Lagos State is not part of that 600 billion or whatever.
Okay.
We have our own budget for education. Local governments have their own budget for education, and then federal has its own budget. The federal government is theoretically in charge of tertiary education, state government, state secondary education, and local government basic education. That's the concurrent. That's the way the funding goes. So that funding is really mostly for the tertiary schools and the secondary schools, the 100 and something or so unity schools that the federal government owns. So while 6 point something is inadequate, I think sometimes we just look. I'm not sure that that figure adequately covers the totality that is given to the education sector across the country as a whole. Because every state still has its own budget and is not part of that 600.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you so much on that. I have loads of messages and calls coming in, but before then, I know that Mr. Biodun Ogunyemi, the president of Academic Staff Union of Universities in Nigeria, has vowed that Nigerian universities won't resume even if the federal government reopens schools. So my question is, the deadlock between ASU and federal government seems to be never ending. What is the solution to this impasse, this deadlock?
Honestly, I think it's something that they have to work out between themselves. Sorry, I'm going to disappoint you a bit, but because my own remit is basically the schools in my state, the primary and secondary schools in my state, I'm not really involved in. But as a Nigerian citizen, I would say that it's time to resolve that impasse.
All right, thank you for that.
The lecturers must be worried about their safety as teachers, and federal government just has to assure them that it's important to go back.
All right, thank you. We have a caller on the line. What's your name and where are you calling from, please? Hello? All right, we lost that call. So we have a message from, I don't have this person's name. It said, I would like to urge the current leadership at Suburb to sustain the good job done thus far. However, I want them to accord priorities to pupils in areas like Ijora, Ajegunle, and other less disadvantaged areas in the states. Okay, this is Hussein from Surulere. That's a message from Hussein. I think one of the questions I also want to ask you before we let you go, because you know that you had to just disengage from the conference that was ongoing at your end, which is one of the reasons why you could not be in the studio today, why you have to be in Ikorodi. I understand that notable projects are what's it called? No, let me put it this way. Are there any notable projects the Ministry of Education is working on to enhance education in the country? All right.
Can I talk about my state, which is what I know about?
Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. So, of course, we are working on infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
We are repairing schools and we are supplying furniture. We are supplying tables and chairs across. I mean, we've made more 40,000 tables and chairs.
That's nice.
And that's one of the things I look out for when I go to the schools. We are upgrading schools. We are building hostels in 3 of our model colleges. In about a year's time, we'll be able to tell you all the building projects. Everything would have come to fruition by God's grace.
Amen.
And that's what we're doing around the country, around the state.
All right.
We are also continuing with the Eco-Excel, which is teaching at primary level.
Yes.
In this case, we'll roll it out because we only rolled it out in 300 schools. We want to roll it out across all the primary schools.
Okay.
That we are working on as well.
All right. Thank you so much. And I will say well done for all the things that you've been doing thus far, especially during this period of pandemic. I know that we're all not prepared, and I can speak specifically regarding all the things that you've been doing a wonderful job trying to bring all the stakeholders together. So again, let me use this opportunity to thank you for honoring my invitation on the show. It has been authoritative having you on board to speak about the adjustment of education system that has come to disrupt our living, and that is being caused by this pandemic. More power to your elbow for all the things you've been doing. Thank you so much for sharing part of your evening with me.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. All right. So that was the Commissioner for Education in Lagos State, and I will use this opportunity to call in our listeners to please let's feel your pulse. Are the parents ready for schools to reopen? Are the students themselves ready to be in that school environment with everything going on? Is it going to enhance their learning? Also, when it comes to WHO measures, are they put in all these measures that will guide the parents, the schools, and the students who are going to come around? I need to hear from the parents. I need to hear from you all. Let me share your thoughts. Let me feel your input. Let me know what your fears are so that we can align all of this and discuss about it. So, again, the phone line to call is 0700 923 923 923. Again, 0700 923 923. Stanley, what's your opinion regarding everything that is ongoing? Don't use that radio voice for me.
Okay, I'll try not to.
Nigeria, can you hear that?
I'm trying not to. But basically, when you consider the figures we have now, over 35,000, and you begin to wonder, is it safe out there for kids? Adults can say, go wash your hands and make sure you don't touch this.
Even adults forget sometimes.
I know, yes.
So get carried away.
Yeah, you imagine kids running around now playing with each other. Would you tell them not to do? Okay, after school, what do they do after school? So that's it. And I know some time ago, teachers were like, okay, fine, we're not even ready to come back because we don't see any reason to come back because we are seeing these figures increase every day.
Yeah.
The figures are alarming now. It's over 35,000. We're not even ready to come back. Okay, when we're ready to come back, I saw some notification somewhere that they don't have a good water supply in most schools. So how would they wash their hands? Yes, and they don't have. How would they wash their hands first of all if they don't have water? Yes, so will the federal government now provide water for every school? So it's heavy when you look at things happening right now. So you ask yourself, even the parents, are they ready to let their wards just leave the house, go to school, and come back and to be comfortable at home? Or the name of education. Some people say, well, life matters first. So let's have this virus go away or reduce or have a solution before we let our kids out there for them to start learning again.
All right, that is Stanley's. But I think we have a caller on the line. Hello, what's your name and where are you calling from, please?
Hello.
Yeah, good evening.
Well, I'm Mr. Kerry, calling from Texas.
Okay.
I think these people are using the technology as leaders. It's a task for them to use their brain. When you see something good happens and you copy it. I believe in South Africa, they've started school over a month now. That the guys they prepared for their children to prevent them from transmitting.
Okay.
My own case is that my son is supposed to take his school start. Fortunately for me, he took GCE, got his papers, took JAMB, got his papers. Now he's stuck in the house. For the school start and MECO, I spent close to 350,000. We are now actually living in the house. I wouldn't like the president said they should get that trade. I don't know what type of advice where it's coming from.
All right. All right. Thank you for your queries, your issues that you've just shared with us. And I think that's that's part of some of the challenges that we are talking about. A student who have written exam, she said GSE. I hope I'm correct, and he made it, but yet there's no school to go. So, it's this 2020. I think this 2020 has come in here to let us appreciate what we have, not what we want.
Yes.
And despite the fact that we can talk about the pandemic coming to disrupt a lot of the pandemic has also exposed us to some of the issues that we have that we've been ignoring all along. So I don't know. Is Stanley? I think we have another caller on the line.
No, the thing that is not going to be business as usual. What people say is the new normal right now. So now people now know that there are different ways you can actually do things from workers going to work now. Some people even work from the house. So now you just heard the commission also talk about, learning with radios and all of that. So it's going to be different right now. So people begin to think outside the box how to make this work. That's basically what will happen from now on.
Oh, yeah. So we have a message from Lillian. He said, thank you for all you do, Real Talk with Kike. What can be done to curb cultism in state government secondary school? That's another topic for another day. It is a problem in my area. Anyways, so our parting remarks courtesy Omoluabi personality from Goldberg is the illiterate of the 21st century will not be the one who cannot read and write, but those who can learn, unlearn, and relearn. I hope you got those 3 messages: learn, unlearn, and relearn. So that's going to be where I draw the curtain for the show today. Let's remind ourselves that the right or the fight is still on, and our community or our common enemy is the coronavirus. Let us shun ignorance and embrace practical guidelines in curbing the spread of the virus. Together, I say, we can overcome this. Remember to watch the show on YouTube page, and you can stand a chance to win some relief from Real Talk with Kike, I believe. All right. So, Stanley, thank you for doing this with me today.
Thank you very much.
It's always a pleasure to have you on the console with all these people. We have lots of people behind the closed doors, and they've been doing a wonderful job and making sure that the production of Real Talk with Kike becomes or remains quality. My name remains Kike Lomatandawo, and you have been on Real Talk with Kike. Bye now, till next week.